The War on Palestine, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. The following message is for those sincere seekers of truth out there who are prepared to receive this message with an open mind. Those who realize they may have been compromised by false conditioning and miseducation. It is not our intention to spew or promote any form of hatred. The purpose of today's message is to raise the consciousness level of those participants of this spiritual development workshop and to protect you by providing you with the information you need to help avoid the many pitfalls of life. As for those of you who have decided you are not interested in hearing or who are allergic to the truth, warning, this message is not for you. Welcome to SPVTOP for Life. Today's topic, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, from fire victims to oppressors. This is the deal. Imagine you are watching the news and you saw a family who suffered a severe and extreme fire which killed several family members. 3 days later, you received a knock on your door and a humanitarian aid organization asked you if some of those same family members you saw on TV could stay with you for a couple of months, just until their living situation was trade. You would even receive compensation or rent for the time allotted. You agreed to the terms, and after 6 months, your guests decide that they really like your house and that they are not leaving. Not only are they not leaving, but they self-identify as the new owners. They say, we don't care if this land or this house has been passed on to you from previous generations. Now it's ours. If you like, there's a room in the basement where you can stay for a while, but only if you behave, accept, and embrace your newly appointed status as an inferior being. You no longer have the freedom to come and go as you please. A few of you may have the opportunity to come upstairs from time to time as servants. Then off you go back down to the basement. You are not allowed to go out. When you order in, your delivery must be inspected by security. Not only do they identify as the new owners, but they've decided that they're tired of hearing some of your complaints. So soon, they will want you out to make room for their other family members who might want to relocate. This is what the Palestinians have been dealing with for the last 80 years. Is Hamas the problem? Mayhem in the Middle East. Palestine. Now let's talk a little bit about Hamas. Not hummus, which is one of my favorite sandwich and salad spreads that I use instead of mayonnaise. No, I'm talking about Hamas, the Palestinian organization which the Palestinians of the Gaza Strip voted into power in 2005 in a democratic election. When was Hamas formed? Hamas was formed in 1987. Its roots are in the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, and it is supported by a robust socio-political structure inside the Palestinian territories. Why was Hamas formed? The group is committed to the armed resistance against invaders and the creation of an Islamic Palestinian state. What does Hamas want? The Islamic resistance movement, Hamas, is a Palestinian Islamic national liberation and resistance movement. Its goal is to liberate Palestine and to confront the Zionist project. Hamas was built on the model of self-defense from Israeli occupation and oppression. Was Israel instrumental in the founding of Hamas? Yes, Israel helped finance and support Hamas with the aim of causing divisions amongst the Palestinian people by weakening the Palestinian Authority. Prior to Hamas was the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, ran by Yasser Arafat. This support backfired on Israel because Hamas became more radical than the PLO. They had no idea that the people of Gaza would democratically elect Hamas as a ruling political party. Hamas is being blamed for starting this so-called Israeli-Palestinian war. What is the benefit of Hamas to the Palestinian people? Hamas is like a union for the Palestinians. a union fighting for the rights for independence of the Palestinians from Israeli occupation. Imagine going to prison and the infidels want to rape you. Hamas is that clique that you join for protection. Hamas shooting some rockets is like someone getting smacked by a bully every day for years, and then taking self-defense training and striking back from time to time to deter the bullying. There are times when the straw breaks the camel's back, so to speak, and you feel you have no other choice but to strike back to maintain some self-dignity. Those of you who feel Hamas or the Palestinians should never strike back no matter what the bullies do to them should try to understand everybody is not built like you. You might be the type that thinks logically, like if you're in that prison cell and dude wants to rape you, logically it makes sense to let him have his way with you, especially when you know you can't physically beat him. To you, there's no sense in getting beat up, a busted jaw, a broken arm, and maybe even getting killed when you can simply submit to your oppressor and survive as his chick. Everybody ain't built like that. Things that make sense to you don't necessarily make sense to those who are believers in Allah, the God. Here in America, we're so backward and confused due to our oppression, miseducation, and false conditioning that we spend our time and energy fighting for all the wrong causes. Like for the legal right to kill our babies through abortion, and for gays to have same-sex marriages, as we surrender our children to the LGBTQ school and media agenda, voluntarily sacrificing our children's mind, body, and soul to Shaitan with these satanic rituals that we practice against the will of Allah, the God of Jesus. While black and brown countries, especially the Muslims all over the world, take the moral position against these satanic rituals that we embrace so willingly. Even if Hamas was an evil terrorist organization, and they did kill over 1,000 innocent Jews, does this justify Israel killing over 30,000 innocent Palestinians, men, women, and children? Is this a case of since Hamas is evil, Israel must be 30 times as evil? Israel has the most technologically advanced weapon defense systems in the world, while Palestinians have one of the weakest weapons defenses in the world. They don't even have helicopters. The entire world is watching and witnessing Israel in real time, on stage, as Israel commits the Palestinian Holocaust. This is and will be recorded as a disgraceful time in history, with Israelis playing the role as and will be remembered as the New Age or modern day Nazis. The October 7th, 2023 Hamas attacks on Israel. Initially, the reports were that Hamas attacked Israel, killed over 1,000 Israelis, and kidnapped about 250 hostages. They are reported to have raped a bunch of Israeli women and were accused of cutting a bunch of Israeli children's heads off. The President of the United States, Joe Biden himself, even said on nationwide television that he saw the evidence of such atrocities. The White House later denounced such claims. Updated reports have proven that yes, there were hostages miraculously taken past the most secure borders on the planet, but no women were raped and no babies' heads were cut off. Eyewitness Israeli accounts are confirmed, and witnesses have come forth and stated that Israeli tanks showed up on the scene and opened fire on Hamas and the potential Israeli hostages, killing masses of people, Hamas and Israelis. So the question is, was Hamas somehow invited in to freely take hostages? Or was this mass killing of Israelis a setup or plot to initiate the extinction of the Palestinian people of Gaza? We have to ask ourselves, why are so many lies allowed to be spread all over our media in favor of these Israeli Zionist Nazis? Anti-Semitism? We hear many of these white European so-called Jews saying this is the land given to their ancestors. Perhaps they should get a DNA test to realize that these white Europeans have no ancestral connection to the Middle East, let alone Palestine or modern-day Israel. Nor do they have any Semitic ancestral ties. Perhaps this is why ancestral DNA testing is illegal in Israel. In case you didn't hear me, I repeat, ancestry DNA testing is illegal in Israel. Now wonder, why is that? It's amazing how the ones who go around calling everybody else anti-Semitic are not even Semitic themselves. According to definition, the Arabs, ancient Hebrews, and East Africans, who in modern terms would be all considered as black people, are the true Semitic people. The definition of Semitic is an Afro-Asiatic people. These accusers, who label others as anti-Semitic, are neither African nor Asiatic. They are European descendants of Japheth, the son of Noah. Japhetic or Yaphetic, not Semitic. Perhaps they need to stop being so anti-Semitic towards the Palestinians, who have more claim to the name or title than themselves. The Arabs of one of the groups classified as Semitic people. Modern-day European Israelis need to humble themselves and lose that arrogance before people start to think differently about Hitler. Right now, Hitler is regarded as a monster and a demon. We don't want people to start thinking that maybe he was just defending himself and the German people when he killed so many of the European Jewish people, like Israel is claiming self-defense while carpet bombing all of Gaza. If you're going to claim Judaism, your representation should be of righteousness, humbleness, and being grateful to Allah, your Creator, for blessing you with a new lease on life. One of the major problems facing the Middle East today is anti-Semitism. The Semitic people have recently been attacked, held hostage, and under constant threat for the last 75 to 80 years. Being anti-Semitic is an evil thing because the prophets of Allah, the God listed in the Bible, Torah, and Quran, were Semitic people. Unfortunately, millions of Europeans have invaded the land of the Semites, and through their media control have convinced the whole world that they are the real Semitic people. They oppress and bomb the Semitic people and then call them anti-Semitic. It's time for this hypocrisy to be exposed to the world. This Palestinian Holocaust is Allah's way of shining a light on the fraudulent activity on those who claim to be the chosen people. I pity the fools, Mr. T. I feel sorry for the Israelis. The Palestinians are looking pretty good right now in the sight of Allah and to the rest of the world. They are getting blown up by Israeli bombs, which are being dropped by Israeli helicopters, planes, and fighter jets. Yet every time you look at the aftermath footage, you see Palestinians praising God, Allah, thanking God for their blessings and asking for the strength and guidance to endure. They haven't lost their faith in God. As a matter of fact, their faith has been strengthened. People all over the world are taking Shahada and converting to Islam from being impressed with their example and undying commitment of faith in Allah, the God of Jesus. In case you wonder why I keep saying the phrase Allah, the God of Jesus, it is because I have been called to remind you, especially the Christians, that all of this chaos is happening in the Holy Land, where Jesus was born and lived. People of Palestine at that time spoke the language of Aramaic. The word for God in the Aramaic language is Allah. Even if you believe that they spoke Hebrew, the name of the God in Hebrew is Allah. Jesus, as well as the other prophets of the Bible, called on Allah as the God. Yahweh, as many today pronounce as Yahweh, actually means the great I am, the eternal one, which is an attribute or description of the God, Allah. So I keep mentioning this phrase to help wake up my so-called Christian brothers and sisters to this reality so they can stop getting so offended when they hear this name or title. In the Holy Quran, the holy book of the Muslims, Jesus is mentioned more than the Prophet Muhammad, and there's a whole chapter named after his mother Mary or Maryam. Meanwhile, you side with the Israeli government who don't show any respect nor even recognize Jesus on any level. While on the other side, the Israelis are fighting a so-called war with a people who don't even have any planes and have inferior weaponry. Dropping bombs non-stop with an unlimited supply donated by the good old US of A. Pretty much like bullies. The United Nations sitting by and watching while Netanyahu, or modern-day Hitler, uses his Nazis to carpet bomb Gaza, killing off as many Palestinians as they possibly can before the international community steps in. This is a very bad look for Israel and all those who openly support this genocide. They will all be judged by Allah, the God, accordingly. To be continued. Stay tuned for part 2 of Israel's war on Palestine. I'll be the one Sheikh D of SPV TOP for life. Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar.